A lot of old friends are coming up from TSM's past, but would they be good for TSM now and in the future? Let's talk some TSM. Hey everybody, welcome back to Talking TSM. I'm really excited that we're on day 3 of the week. As you can tell from my wardrobe change, I will probably keep the hat, I think, from now on. But this one's getting recorded a little bit later because there's some other things going on. So I'm really excited to dive into this. As I said in our opening there, there's a lot of different stuff coming up for TSM, and I think we got to talk about it. So let's start real quickly, though, with the question of the day. If you could bring back one player, to TSM from this group of players, who would it be? BJERGSEN, Spica, DOUBLELIFT, or Hanser? Yes, that's right. We're going to be talking about all 4 of them today. And I'm not going to give away my answer yet because, that would give it away. So I want to know, though, in the comment section what you guys would do. I have an opinion on this, and I think you guys will probably know, but we're going to talk about them anyways. So, what I wanted to start with is talking about, what we want in a team, necessarily, or just kind of, what is our mindset surrounding TSM as a whole. And to start, I think we have to talk about, do we want a team for the now or a team for the future? Obviously, the answer would probably be for everybody both, right? That makes the most sense to me. I think that makes the most sense for all of you as well. But when we really think about it, right, it's a hard question to answer. And for me, you guys know, I said this last year, I said it the year before, I think LCS teams are too quickly looking towards the now. Right? I believe that the reason why we struggle so much at times is because teams would rather spend and bring in players that are going to help them now instead of towards the future, right? And this was my biggest complaint with the solo over soul thing. Solo was great for the moment, and I was wrong in terms of how good he was going to be, right? My whole argument for the solo part was that, well, why not give Sol the chances if you're either A, 1, not going to make it, or 2, not going to make it very far. Now, TSM still didn't make it super far necessarily, but they still finished technically in the top 5, which was better than I expected, but there were still a lot of issues with this team, and with all the changes that I anticipated happening, which are happening now, it didn't make it seem as worth it necessarily for me, still even to this day, for Solo to be there. I was wrong in terms of the impact that he was going to have. It seemed like he was a really good addition for TSM for the short term. But for our future, we'll have to see still. What's going to go on with Sol, I don't really know yet. I still kind of believe he might be a part of our team going forward. I actually talked about that in my predictions for the LCS offseason, or the 2023 rosters, excuse me. You guys can go check that out over at the Game House. I can link it in the description below as well. But, it's going to be real interesting to see what TSM do here. And if you've read that article, at least some of this stuff is maybe going to be a little bit outdated in terms of my opinions on it. But there has been some new developments and things that we'll have to talk about. But I think we have to ask ourselves this question. Do we want a team for now or for the future? Also, will the LCS have a future, right? With all the changes and all the doom and gloom, right, that's going down, everybody's like, oh, God, I don't know. Is the LCS screwed? Is it not? My personal belief is no. The LCS is going through, for sure, a valley instead of a peak right now. But I think the LCS ultimately will be fine. I think it's still a flagship part of the LoL ecosystem, regardless of how many viewers it gets. I'm still pretty sure it brings in a lot more money than some of the other major regions. Probably not all of them, but at least 1 or 2 of them. Just based on the fact that North American viewers are worth more to advertising and sponsorship companies or companies who sponsor or advertise. So I still think the LCS has a future, and I think they're trying to figure that out. And I think, TSM is a major part of that. When TSM's bad, viewership is down. That's just factual. We've seen it now. I think a good TSM team could bring back a lot of viewers. Does it matter more to be at the top of the LCS and suck at Worlds, or be better at Worlds? Another thing, right? And the reason why I say that is because 2020 and 2021, both summers, right? We finished first in two different ways. One, in 2020, we won the LCS and then went to Worlds, sucked. Then in 2021, we finished first, but didn't even make it to Worlds, right? So there's a lot to kind of unravel with that. And I do think we have to think about, like, if we build a team for the now, are they going to be best for, winning the LCS, or are they going to get better trying to get ready for Worlds? That whole conundrum, the chicken and the egg conversation, is one that I think can be very tough. Lastly, do we let nostalgia get in the way? And I think that's going to be the topic of today, because while I know we all pine for those days of the Hanser, Svenskeren, BJERGSEN, Doublelift, Biofrost days, right, where we were just on top of the world. I hate to break it to you, but that's 4, 5, 6 years ago now, right? And that's not something that we can realistically, I think, want. So moving forward here, the reason why I bring all this up is because of Doublelift, right? Doublelift is apparently looking at teams, and I've heard a couple different team names. I'm not going to confirm or deny what rumors that I have heard, but I will say this. I think if TSM do bring him back or actively engage, I think it's a humongous mistake. I know that it would be good for branding. I know that it would bring a lot of viewers back, but I think, again, I'm a future looker. I'm not a now looker, and that sounds weird, but Doublelift for me he's a lot older. He hasn't played in a couple of years now. He had a huge rift with TSM that caused us to have our CEO get suspended, which he deserved for other things that he did as well. But, it would be very hard to see somebody who has such bad blood with the CEO and kind of the way that things happened and Lena leaving and everything. For me, it would be like, oh, we're going back to the old times where things weren't exactly going well, right? Like they did leading up to it, but, these last couple years, things have not looked great with the connection between Doublelift and TSM and Lena and TSM. So while I know all of us would love prime Doublelift back here doing his thing, I'll just be honest with you. I don't want this to happen, and I hope that you guys don't as well. The other one, and this one's going to be the quickest one. I love Hanser so much, but guys, like, he couldn't even get an academy spot. He was barely okay with us in academy. I love Hanser. I miss headband Hanser, man. Those days were awesome. He was so good, but I think those days are gone, and there are a lot of really good top laners. You can go check out the video I did before this, and top laners who are, frankly, a lot younger than he is, that are just better than him. So I'm saying no on Hanser, and again, another one I think you guys should say no to as well, hopefully. BJERGSEN. Now, this is going to be arguably the most controversial one, but the one that I am hesitant on, but I still even predicted that I think he might end up with TSM. There are a lot of teams out there that I think would like BJERGSEN, but I don't know necessarily in the situation that I gave, to spoil a little bit. I had VTO going to 100 Thieves. I had C9 sticking with Jensen, and obviously Evil Geniuses stay with JoJo. And with TL not spending, I think the most realistic team for BJERGSEN might end up being TSM. I'll dive into that when we do the mid lane rankings, a little bit later on, but I do think that this is something that we have to look into, and I think that BJERGSEN would be a nice addition, no doubt about it. I think he'd bring a lot of stability, but he's still not my choice out of all four of them, mostly because I don't really know what the future looks like with him. The now looks great, but what does the future look like with BJERGSEN? And I think that's the question we got to ask ourselves. Here's the player that I still want. I know that there is obviously been a schism that has happened between him and TSM. He made that pretty clear in his last TSM Legends video. And I think he initially wanted to play with BJERGSEN on Team Liquid with the rest of that team. Obviously, that's probably not happening with TL. Again, I think cutting their budget pretty significantly. And I don't think Spica wants to go to TL just to have a bunch of rookies around him. I mean, he may still want to do that, but at least here on TSM, you know, I think we would be able to at least provide a little bit of a better roster, and potentially then Team Liquid would be able to. And again, if my theory of this being the best place for BJERGSEN to come back to, then this could work. This could work really, really well. I just don't see a lot of paths for Spica other than TSM. And maybe it's just a now thing, but if they can mend those relationships, he becomes that future player that he wanted to be. He's maturing more, and I think he's figuring out, you know, that he wants to be that star player, not just in the way that he plays, but in the way that he is seen, and the legacy that he leaves. If there's going to be one player that's going to come back of those four, and one that's, at least in my opinion, a combination of not due to nostalgia, but due to the future, the player that's going to help us now for the future, and it's going to help us win championships and help us, you know, play well at Worlds, I think Spica's that guy. So I don't know. You guys need to let me know. Again, let me know in the comment section below, who would you guys prefer? There's just a lot going on at TSM, and I'm excited for the content we're going to get into next week as more information probably comes out over the weekend, hopefully at least. So check out all the videos that are going to be below me, okay? And make sure that you subscribe, and I'll catch you guys next week on the next one.